Welcome to the Wisdom That Breathes channel. Across all our platforms, we try to share wisdom which is relevant and accessible to everyone. But on this particular platform, we go deeper into some of the ancient principles found within the scriptures. If you find some of the terminology difficult or inaccessible, then go over to our Keshava Swami YouTube channel where you'll be able to find other content which is perhaps more relatable. Thank you and enjoy the wisdom that breathes. We will now be having a wonderful presentation on education. Srila Prabhupada, he established 7 purposes of ISKCON. And these were the 7 purposes which would really guide the movement going forward. And so the very first purpose of ISKCON is to systematically educate people in the principles of Krishna consciousness. So across the world of ISKCON, we have many, many different initiatives where we actually teach people the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, and all of the books that Srila Prabhupada has given to us. We try to present them in a way that's systematic, in a way that relates to people's lives, and in a way which really addresses the needs, interests, and concerns of the people living in the world. So today we're going to have a presentation from the School of Bhakti. This is one of the many initiatives going on. And the real purpose of showing you this is so that all of you can first of all take advantage of School of Bhakti. We have many other educational initiatives. Here we have a wonderful group of devotees doing Bhakti Vriksha. We have the College of Vedic Studies at Soho, so we have many initiatives. So first thing is we want to share with all of you that take advantage of these initiatives which can really help you to learn Krishna consciousness in a structured way. And the second thing is we are a movement of also sharing knowledge and sharing wisdom. So please also think about what's being presented here and see whether you can also become part of the mission to make wisdom go viral. Hare Krishna. Does it sound good? Are you excited to hear from the School of Bhakti? Okay, so Krishna Kirtan and Sesa, are you ready? Okay, but you can come down and you can begin. So am I supposed to tell a stand-up comedy here until you're putting me in the middle of it all? Pardon me? They want the microphone. They want the microphone. Oh, you want to do it from there? Is that the idea? Oh, okay, so you are ready, but you want to do it from there. Okay, I got it.
Hare Krishna. So can I have your attention over here? Okay, so we're going to do something interactive. Next slide. Who's seen this before? Keshav Swami, you seen this one? Okay, so if you align with the lady in the blue for the following memes, stay seated down. If you align with the man, then please stand up and stay standing up. You ready? All right, let's just practice. You understand? Stand up. Everyone stand up. Now we can see who's doing Gayatri. And sit down. Cool. So let's go to the first one. Who likes to chant japa? Stay seated down. Or who gets distracted thinking of a to-do list? Stand up if you get distracted thinking of a to-do list. Okay, here we have Jay Shetty's father-in-law. So let us hear why and what do you think about when you're chanting that distracts you on your to-do list?
Everything apart from japa.
Everything but japa. Okay, please be seated. Next. Sesha.
They have database on their phone. This isn't a plug, don't worry. Okay, so when you're on your phone, you're in the zone of reading, trying to go deep, but then a notification comes up. How many get distracted by Instagram? Stand up if you get distracted. Be honest, I do as well, don't worry. Okay, a few. Some of you I know that you get distracted, so don't act like it. Okay, next one.
Okay, so, oh yeah, go on.
Okay, so we've had many classes over this weekend, isn't it? So many wonderful speakers, wonderful topics. So if you are really into class and you love and have the enthusiasm for class, then stay seated. But if you get distracted and the thought arises of sleep, then please stand up. Nap or class. Or there's a third option. There's a third option. Get the best of both worlds. Isn't it? Okay, you can be seated.
Okay, so who likes to be in the association of the devotees? Stay seated. But who gets distracted by ISKCON gossip? Please stand. Maharaj. Come on. Okay, wonderful. And one more. We'll hand this one to Giri, right?
Okay, so who would go on a family holiday, stay seated, or who would book Rise 2026? Keshav Swami, it looks like we're fully sold out for next year.
Okay, Mayank's got a picture of all of you, so you're all signed up in principle. Okay. Everyone, yeah, go on.
So, everyone's got a phone. We discovered that in one of the sessions previously. So we're going to do a quick Slido, if that's okay with you. So if everyone can quickly scan the QR code here, and we're going to ask you a question. Don't worry, we're not keeping your details. Has it come up for everyone? Oh, thank you. Huh? Oh yeah, can you go up? Okay, we'll come back to this part. Technical issues. We'll continue on. Okay, we'll come back to this. Oh, here we go. If you could scan this one. It's active. Oh, yeah. You can shout it out, don't worry.
So just one or two words.
What is your biggest distraction in spiritual life?
Wife.
No life stories, please. Okay. Okay, so it's quite ironic we're doing this and the phone is the main distraction of everything right now. Okay. So there's broadly a lot: material life, laziness, the phone, family for some. Okay, we're going to ask you to do a second one. And we're going to ask you, how many of you have experienced crowded loneliness within the devotee community within the last 12 months? Crowded loneliness means there's many people around. However, internally, we feel alone, or we feel we can't open up, or we can't reveal our mind to anyone. Yes, regularly, sometimes. This could go one of two ways. Okay, so majority are feeling sometimes. Okay, good.
So here's an interesting metaphor. We saw the video of a blind girl in India walking on a tightrope. Who here feels brave to walk a tightrope? Anyone done it before? Someone there? Sandy Pani? And a few guys here. So, what is this analogy? Kaviraj Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says that this path is very difficult. I'm blind and my feet are slipping again and again. Therefore, may the saints help me by granting me the stick of their mercy as my support. Kadambakananda Swami once explained to us that there's three things going on here in this picture: the balancing beam, the tightrope, and this support net. The rope, as you'll see in the videos, is very thin, but it can get broader depending on our philosophical conviction. The more philosophically we understand the process, the activities, the why, the broader that becomes and the easier it is to walk. Me and Sesa are not nervous about walking on this stage because it's very broad, but I don't think either of us would dare to follow that little girl on a tightrope. So if our philosophical conviction is very deep and dense, the rope becomes thicker and easier to traverse. The support network. This can be the association of the devotees. Kripamoya Prabhu once in a class said, a real devotee, where is Kripamoya Prabhu? He came, I saw him, but, okay. So he once said in a class, and it stuck with me all these years, a real friend is somebody who's there even when we bloop, which is a very interesting statement. And so the association of the devotees will catch us when we have a wobbly moment. They're always there. They're always from below encouraging. You can see these makeshift devotees are looking up and giving some encouragement. Carry on, you can do it. And the balancing beam is our faith, which is a combination of the support network as well as our conviction gives us the faith, and that helps us balance.
Okay, so now we've set the context of what we're going to be giving. We'll ask for a bit of empowerment as well, so we can do the prayers together. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so you can imagine the scene of the Mahabharata. Anyone read the Mahabharata here? Yeah, many of you have probably watched it instead. Okay, so you can imagine the scene of the Mahabharata that, these two great armies have come together hundreds of millions of people are staring at each other, ready to fight. You know, everyone's rallied up. Everyone knows exactly what they're there to do and the fight that they're trying to win. And then at that point, Arjuna says to Krishna, isn't it? Please, Krishna, take my chariot in the middle of the battle. Let me see who's here ready to fight, you know? And at that point, when Krishna takes Arjuna's chariot in the middle, there's hundreds of millions of Kurus in front of him. However, there's a few prominent personalities that capture his attention. A few prominent personalities on the Kuru side that he's really astounded by. Any ideas who those were? Bhishma Dev? Dronacharya? Kripacharya? Okay, so there's a few prominent personalities. This isn't a real picture, this is AI, by the way. So, but yes, out of millions of personalities in front of him, Dronacharya and Bhishma Dev were the two that stood out in front of him. And it's interesting because in our lives, we have millions of encounters. We have millions of value systems that are embedded within us, from social media, from marketing, from the devotee community, from gurus, etc., etc. However, what these two personalities represent is very important for our value system. So it said that Dronacharya actually represents our education. That's what Arjuna was seeing when he saw him. He thought all the education that Dronacharya had imparted onto him, all the education that he had geared him up with, has now come to this moment where he has to actually apply that knowledge. And Bhishma Dev was the family ties. He was the grandsire, isn't it, of the whole dynasty that was there and had looked after him for so many years. So it's interesting, out of hundreds of millions of people there, these two, and in our own lives, we can see whether it's things that we've been taught, whether it's things that we've been conditioned about, whatever it might be, it heavily comes from education and our family. Isn't it one of the first things that you say when you meet someone? Oh, where did you graduate from? Or, you know, what's your family dynasty? Which Gam are you from? Whatever it might be. So this is what we want to talk about today, education and community.
So let's look at a map of how our life goes. The world will bring us chaos, challenges, and confusion. Sastra, or the scripture, will bring us clarity instead of chaos. It will direct us which direction to go in when challenges arise. And it will connect us with a higher voice, Krishna's voice or the Guru's voice. Sangha, or the community of the devotees, in the chaos makes us feel cared for. When there's a challenge, empowers us to overcome it or to tolerate it. And when there's confusion, gives us context. This is very much a Sutapa or Keshav Swami slide. It's not from him. So this is one that the devotees have made themselves. There's a lovely story from Srila Prabhupada that Sesa would like to say now in this regard.
I saw Maharaj actually took a picture of the slide. Yeah, so it's interesting, like when you look at books, we think about knowledge. When you look at community, you think about support, isn't it? So there was once actually, Srila Prabhupada was walking, a few of his disciples were around him, and it was early in the morning, and Prabhupada just stopped and said to them, I see what you don't see. So anyway, all the disciples no one asked Prabhupada, what do you see? But they thought, okay, maybe he's seen something, maybe it's Krishna, maybe it's something else. A few hours went past, and again Prabhupada stopped, and he said, I see what you do not see. Again, no one asked Prabhupada, what are you seeing? A couple more hours went past. Prabhupada said, I see what you do not see. And this time one disciple, thought, okay, let's ask Prabhupada. And at that point, then they asked Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, it's 9:30 in the morning and the light is still on. And they were like, oh, okay. But the idea being here that Prabhupada gave us this incredible example of seeing Krishna everywhere. He saw Krishna's energy. He saw how to utilize, money for Krishna. And the same way, when we usually when we look at books, we think that, okay, this is for knowledge. Let me accumulate knowledge. Let me read to go deeper. When we go for sanghas, we think, let me have a nice kind of like endorphin hit or something like that. Whereas we have to look at it from a different perspective, that actually the books aren't just full of knowledge. The books are directing us on our journey. The books are telling us, how do I start my practice? How do I rectify myself from mistakes? And how do I ultimately perfect life so that that end journey is not coming back to here?
Again, from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, a wonderful quote talking about the garden of bhakti. How many of us are chanting, reading regularly, associating with devotee, ticking all the boxes? But we still sometimes look in the mirror and we see these unwanted things. Who likes gardening here? Regardless of all the effort we put in, still weeds grow. And we have to actively, consciously find them out and keep pulling them out and be tolerant. And so there's 4 elements to building our garden of growth. First, putting the right seed in to good, fertile soil. We have to be conscious, what is it that we want to grow? Is it really pure Krishna Bhakti that we want to grow? Is it a societal comfort that we want? Is it relief from pain? What is it we're really looking to grow? And if you reflect and you think, actually, maybe I have not been nurturing I have not planted the right seed. Don't worry, you can always plant a new seed. Then comes water. Every day you have to water that little seed so that the seedling can form. And this is in the form of our daily sadhana, our chanting and our reading. Then you need compost, which adds to that soil and makes it more fertile. And this is the community of the devotees. Regular association, Chintamani Mataji and Krishna Dharma Prabhu at the Manor are very good examples of this, who take Sangha very importantly. And the devotees that have taken shelter of their process have really found it nourishing, and they feel that their bhakti lata or their devotional seed can really flourish. And then we ultimately have sunlight. Photosynthesis has to be there, and sunlight's a crucial part of that. And the sunlight is the blessings from the devotees, without which we have no chance.
Okay, so this is a stairway of sustainability. You can think about it in your lives there's so many endeavors nowadays, isn't it, for sustainability, renewable energies, all these kind of endeavors. But here you can think about it from a spiritual perspective of, if I don't sustain my life, my spiritual life, think about it, who gets impacted? Who is it that will get impacted if you don't make yourself spiritually strong? Is it us? It's also others. Everyone around us actually gets impacted, but we're going to open this up. The point of this slide was just to look at those different stages that Krishna Kirtan Prabhu was bringing up and seeing it from a total community and an educational level. So we won't go into it in too much depth, but we'll expand on it now. So this is the total from introduction into a community, what's the first touch point in a community, and then also with education and how that then deepens so that we can then contribute back to society and to the community as well. But this is just a snapshot of the totality of it, and then now we're going to go into the actual stages and some takeaways for everyone. Okay, so from an educational point of view, you might have heard these different stages previously. So it all starts with Shravanam, isn't it? Shravanam, in this instance, we're bucketing together that there's hearing and reading. So somehow or another coming in contact with devotional knowledge, transcendental knowledge. Then the next stage is described as manunam, which means contemplation, actually taking it a level deeper. You come in contact with something and then letting the mind churn it out. Then the next stage is nididhyasanam, which means how to actually apply something in life. How do I actually take that knowledge that I've thought about, I've churned out, and how to actually take that forward into my personal life. Then comes vandanam, and then kirtanam at the end. So, we've just got some example questions to help us churn it out. The first one, when we hear something, we can think, what actually stood out? Like this whole weekend we've heard so much, isn't it? And there must have been like one-liners from different sessions that have stood out to each and every one of us. And we can think, what is it that stood out? And is there any questions? Is there any doubts further upon that? Mananam, we're going to give a little bit more to this, but digesting it a bit further, why did that stand out? Nididhyasanam, looking, how do I actually apply this? How do I embed this in my life in a sustainable way, in a way that's regular, that's consistent? Vandanam is the hidden kind of ingredient in our lives, isn't it? That no one sees, but it has tremendous impact, where we think, how do I pray to that personality? How do I imbibe this quality or this level of strength from a person? And then the final one is kirtanam, which ultimately brings about the thought of, actually, is there an area in my life, is there an opportunity in my life that I can share this knowledge to others? Whatever transcendental knowledge we're coming in contact with, how do I share this to someone else? So the main one that I wanted to highlight, which is how we can churn out everything that's happened on this retreat, because we've got a tremendous amount from so many amazing speakers that have been giving us so many jewels of bhakti during this retreat. But let's not just leave that as like something that was nice, that was written down on the notepad, and then a year later try to refill that. But let's take that forward here and now. And so with Mananam, this is just a couple of questions that can help us dive deeper. So from top to bottom, the first thing we can think is, actually, why did that piece of knowledge, why did what that devotee said stand out to me? Is it relevant? Why is it so important in my life now? Then the next question that we can ask ourselves is, how do I actually apply this in my life? How do I actually put this into an action in my life so that I can daily work upon that piece of knowledge? Then the third thing that we can look for is, what is some of the opportunities and the difficulties that I may have in applying that? And then the last thing is, imagine there was, the average Joe was walking down the street and you'd never met him, never interacted with this person, and you had to share this piece of knowledge with that person. You don't know anything about them. How would you share it to them? How would you make them interested? How would you make it applicable in their life? So there's a gradation of, it starts with understanding and internalizing it for ourselves. Then the next two is looking a bit more at the application for ourselves. And then the third one is, if we can then contextualize it and explain it to anyone and everyone, even someone that's completely random, that doesn't look for bhakti, then actually it internalizes that knowledge even deeper within us. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Then this is just a bit of a flow. This is from Keshav Maharaj, so thank you, Maharaj. And essentially this pyramid gives us a bit of an understanding of, when I'm looking for something in my spiritual life, what book should I actually be looking at? What should I be looking for? From basic philosophy to more detailed philosophy to practical practices, relationship with Krishna and Srila Prabhupada, then devotional life and perfection, and then ultimately Krishna's mind. But I really like this quote at the top of, my wisdom is, I know, I do not know. And in spiritual life, you can see it, isn't it? Like, sometimes in material life, if you don't know something, you feel like you're going to get ridiculed. you feel like someone's going to take the mick out of you, or you're stupid. But in spiritual life, as soon as we can figure this out, then it becomes even more relishing, because we're like, I want to know more. I know exactly like the area that I want to read, or the book I want to read, or the topic that I want to relate to. And then what happens when you finish all of these? Is there another one? You do it all again, yeah. I remember when I first joined the temple, then one of my school friends, I was showing him the temple room, and I showed him that there's like the Bhagavatam class and there's Gita classes. And then he said, so then what happens when you finish? I said, then we restart it. He goes, did you not learn it the first time? Like, why'd you restart it? But there's 100% knowledge, then there's 200%, and there's 300%. It's just exponential in spiritual life.
So coming back to the concept of crowded loneliness, some of you said, well, actually many of you said it happens sometimes. So we want to talk about these 4 aspects of us existing within a crowd. So there's 500, 600 devotees here at the Rise Retreat. We've said Hari Bol to many people. One of my friends, when he grew up as a devotee, when he was about 5 years old, someone said, what's your dad's name? And he said, Hari Bol. And then he went home and he said, Dad, they're all laughing at me. And they said, some of you may know Vraj Sundar and Ramanuja Prabhu, because the wife always just said, Hari Bol, and would call him. And so we often in the devotee community also have Hari Bol relationships where 10, 15 years can go and we say Hari Bol Prabhu, but you actually don't know who that person's name is. So how to overcome this and our responsibility as an individual. So Russian roulette, number 1. This is from the 4 principles of community development given by His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami. Treat everyone you encounter as if the success or failure of your spiritual life depends on the quality of your interactions with them. So you think of the game Russian roulette, you're super attentive and scared because it could be the last moment. So imagine if we treated everybody as if the success or failure of our spiritual life is dependent on how we dealt with everyone. That would really rise the occasion. Objective love, number 2. Think of the person you love the most and aspire to treat everyone with that same quality of love. The blame game. Imagine there's a conflict and you first thought, like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's quote is, where is the fault within me that I'm able to see the fault in someone else? So before we point the finger at someone else, we should first look inwards. And forever present. Realize that people in the present environment might very well be the people at the end of your life. So if you're with them, imagine if you're going to be stuck with them the rest of your life. For the Grihastas, you can empathize. There's a lovely story here that Srila Dharma Prabhu once said in a class. Today is Easter Monday, the day Jesus Christ resurrected, so it's very apt to say this. A group of students went to a monastery and to do a visit like they do at Bhaktivedanta Manor. And they came in and they saw the monks, and the monks were showing them around. But when the monks were passing each other in the corridors, they would often not be so warm with each other, a little bit short. And the students didn't have a great experience at the monastery because of the way that the monks were dealing with each other. Then a rumor started spreading by somebody that the Messiah, the reincarnation, shall we say, of Jesus, will come. And they exist already in this church. Then everybody was like, is it you? Is it you? Not knowing who the Messiah was, they started respecting everybody, showing love and attention to each and every person. Then a school visit came, and they saw the monks worshipping and being so kind and attentive and caring to one another, that actually the school students got so inspired that in the years to come, many of them joined the monastery. So imagine if we could live in a community, or if we could be the first person to be that change that we wanted to see in the community. Here's another model to meditate on in terms of coming away from crowded loneliness, but also how to find community. First, connection. How can I connect rather than what can I get? Listening deeply without rushing to respond. Attentiveness. Participation. Join in group activities. Offer help and share your perspective when invited. Accountability. If you say you're going to do something, show up and do it. And legacy. Leave your stamp to benefit the future who will follow. So this is very important. We will feel nourished here at the Rise Retreat. Who's a bit nervous about Tuesday morning spiritual life? Yeah. Why is that? We're surrounded by everyone who is very focused on their sadhana and their bhakti processes. Tomorrow we'll be in our silos and nuclear lives in our houses, and we will feel that separation from the association of devotees. But we can do so many practical things. Once Kadambakana Swami told me a very interesting idea, and maybe some of you will follow it, where you have smaller communities. He said, why is it that you grihastas cook meals every day in your house? I said, because we need to eat. And he said, imagine if you had 30 families and you just 29 families went to one house on rotation every month. That means you only have to buy boga once a month, you only have to cook once a month, and you only have to clean once a month. And all the kids will play with each other, and the older ones will look after the younger ones. And it was such an interesting perspective that he was thinking of in terms of the Mayapur project many, many years ago, of having grihastas just move around from house to house and share the load. So it's an interesting model of how to create community.
So we got inspired by Mukundhari yesterday, bringing up the way it all started. And here, yeah, to bring it to the crux of everything, I guess, we can see Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan. You know, all the comforts, everything was there in the most spiritual place, the place that we try to go year after year. And here we can see Prabhupada gazing out from his room in Radha Damodar temple. Then where did it go? Then we know the manner and, you know, all over the West that Prabhupada built so many centers. And now where it's at. So yeah, you can go.
So as Maharaj was saying, there's many initiatives around the UK where communities are being built. It's been very inspiring to see and bump into many people from smaller communities. And I'm sure that there's much to learn from how the small organic communities are growing, as well as how, for instance, ISKCON London and Bhaktivedanta Manor have grown and are able to sustain that growth. School of Bhakti is one department at Bhaktivedanta Manor which tries to accelerate that growth of community and education. Over the years, under Keshav Swami's leadership, we've been able to reach different corners of the world. And for those who are in leadership positions in their communities, we welcome you to affiliate with us, where we can give you resources, alliance coaching, and exposure onto a website or social media, so you can scan this QR code or come and approach us afterwards. Please do get involved with what we're trying to do to try and make a change in the world. So we have weekly podcasts on Tuesday evenings with experts in their fields. So you can join the podcast by scanning that QR code, or you can join our general WhatsApp community where you can find out about courses, events, retreats, etc. And we'll finish with a nice meditation for you to all go into the final session with.
Okay, we want you to take a moment and just imagine a world where each and every one of us becomes a sincere student, a gardener of our soul's true desire, bhakti, pure love, pure devotion. Then collectively, we will create a spiritual forest that will shelter the world. Sounds nice, doesn't it? Now it's up to us to make it.
And two recommendations that we have, which I'm sure many of you have already taken advantage of. His Grace Gauranga Prabhu has written a lovely book, The Legacy of Community Building in the Bhakti Tradition, with an emphasis on Lord Chaitanya's community and life. And Patri Prabhu's in ISKCON Nepal book, Hold, about aparad. These are two aspects of community building which are very important. How to build the community and how to ruin it. So please do take advantage of these two books. They're available in the main hall. And for anyone that wants more information on what's available at School of Bhakti or leads sessions in their own areas and wants more help, then you can approach Anita and the team at the School of Bhakti table at the back of the main hall. Thank you very much. I'm Krishna Kirtan. This is Sesa. Hare Krishna.